Hello everyone. So by now, we have already learned how we can use different sources as well as proxy geometry to create our scene layout. In this lesson, I'll be walking you through how to use KitBash 3D's cargo software client to use free KitBash assets to create your scenes. Let's get started. Before we can get started in Houdini, what we first need to do is to make sure that we have cargo installed from the KitBash 3D website and the Houdini plugin for cargo is also installed. So for that, first we can head to the KitBash 3D website and click on cargo. And you can download cargo for your operating system. So once you have downloaded the cargo installer, we can go ahead and install cargo. And once installed, we can run it. Once you have cargo open and you have logged in with your KitBash 3D user ID, you can either get the paid assets or if you come down to models, we can filter it. And in filters, we can set the access to either free or already owned. KitBash 3D from time to time will provide you with free assets that you can use to build your scenes. Now, to connect KitBash 3D to Houdini, we can head to Settings and click on Add New Software. Select Advanced Setup and from the drop-down menu, select Houdini. For Houdini, instead of providing the application path, we need to provide a user preferences directory. The user preferences directory usually lives in your documents folder. So I'll choose my user preferences directory and click on select folder. For this to work, we need to make sure that we have Houdini closed. But since I have it already set up, I will skip this step. Once you have it selected, you can press install and that should get you set up for cargo to be used in Houdini. To verify that you have the cargo plugin installed in Houdini, we can jump to Houdini and press the plus sign. In new pane tab type, you can see KitBash 3D cargo now shows up. Here, you can set up the path of your asset directory. The KitBash 3D cargo workflow supports direct imports to Solaris. So we can skip the SOP context and go straight to stage. In cargo, I'll sort it by free and owned assets. I will select any one of the assets that I've already downloaded and I'll click on import. So once this asset is imported, you'll be able to see it in the asset catalog. To get it into your scene, you can directly drag and drop it onto your viewport. And you will have it imported with all the materials applied to it. Since we'll be importing a high number of assets, I'll be using the stage manager to import and manage my assets into my scene. So you can plug in the stage manager, and if we view the parameters for it, we can see the asset catalog shows up here as well. So if we drag and drop, we can create the asset without creating any extra nodes for it. And all the parameters for it, such as the transform values, will live under the stage manager. This is a great feature if you want to populate large worlds quickly. So now, I'll be importing a bunch of free buildings that are available for me from KitBash 3D and importing those into my final scene. So this way, we'll have some amazing looking final outputs without having it be too hard on your wallets. So it is as simple as just bringing together different assets and placing them in your scene. we can look through our cameras to see if the placements are looking good. So here, in my original scene, I had a bridge under which the characters will be walking through. So I'll replicate the same thing using a different building and try to keep my compositions relatively similar to my final result. At any point, if you think that your building proxies are getting in the way, we can simply turn it off so that it's easier for us to place our assets as we want. So you can bring in as many assets as you would like, as long as it doesn't get heavy for your system to render. If your final renders are taking more than 2 minutes without any crowds, it is too heavy for you to use and you might want to consider optimizing your scene. If you want to fine tune any values, we can come to the transforms tab of our stage manager and edit the values directly. So even by just using the free assets, you can pretty much create any kind of aesthetic that you're going for in your final scene. I would recommend you to take a look at the assets that you have available before you commit to a final aesthetic. You can also mix and match different kinds of buildings to make a scene that is truly your own. Just remember, if you're going for that approach, your buildings are supposed to support the crowds in the scene and not overpower them. So in this case, I'm just trying to find the buildings that are as close as possible to my original idea, so that we can use similar crowd placements without having to change much. So the Houdini files for the scene will be provided in the example files. We can go through all our angles and make sure that we are happy with them. One final thing I want to do before we can start rendering and close out this lesson is I want to import my materials for the ground. So again, we can come back to kitbash 3D and this time I'll head to the materials tab. I'll filter the free and owned materials. And out of the free materials, we can choose any material that we would like for our ground to have. So let's import the soil material. So for our ground, I'll take a SOP import node. I'll re-import my ground geometry, connect it before my cameras. Now to connect the soil material to my ground, I'll need a material linker node. We can see that we already have our soil material coming in. We can drag and drop on our ground mesh and I'll apply the material to my SOP import and render it to verify that it's working. So we can switch to Karma XPU now and look at our ground from all the 3 camera angles. Right now, it looks like the tiling is too less. So we can increase the tiling to 15 for this material. Once you're happy with how your environment looks, we can take the Karma setup node, switch to Karma XPU, and we can connect our camera that we want to use to render. Let's render from camera 1 first. Once again, I'll turn on the denoiser and in the USD render op, I'll turn on the mplay monitor. I'll switch this to render for specific frame range. And first, render my entire frame range for camera 1. Then, I'll do the same for my second and third cameras. Once we are happy with our settings, we can go ahead and launch the render. So that's it for this lesson. I am positive that using kitbash 3D assets and cargo would allow you to get visually pleasing results that you'll be able to use in your showreels. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.